The nice thing, I think, about the BP oil spill, and there's actually nothing nice about it, but there is one thing nice about it, that it's unavoidably true that it happened. It is something that you don't have to believe. You can simply go to that area and you can smell it in the air, and you can see it in the water, you can see the dead turtles and dead albatrosses and whatever birds were there, and it's a horrendous situation, and you can really measure the stupidity of these oil companies and the fact that they don't know how to deal with things, and it's such a reality. That's I think a benefit of the whole oil spill. I think that's the benefit of every calamity that happens, that people are faced with just a piece of reality for a change that they have to deal with. And the reason why that's beneficial is that you cannot go on believing whatever Wall Street says if these type of things happen. You can believe Larry Summers and Timothy Geithner and Bernanke. You can trust everybody there because they're so nice and so smart, and they're completely into it, and etc. And they also talk about cycles and future revenues and all things that you have to trust and expect. And Jamie Dimon being very, very well in creating rapport, apparently, with Obama, and he's the biggest crook of them all. You can believe all kinds of stuff that people tell you, but if you start seeing with your own eyes that your country is being devastated, or an area needs urgent attention, or the voters simply won't put up with a president that doesn't respond well, then your whole party will go into the ground, and you really don't want that. Because you're the first black president, for instance. Then you have to then that's a benefit, because it creates a new perspective, a new reference for President Obama to work with. And there's lots of other angles to the whole story. It might be attacked by China. It might be all kinds of things, but one of it is it punctures a bubble that Obama has been in. It forces it to do so. He is forced to no longer trust reports of BP oil executives. He is forced to no longer trust all kinds of prognosis and stuff like that. He's learning how companies want to weasel out of their responsibilities, because let's say the liability that the US imposes on BP is now $20 billion. They made $45 billion dollars or pounds profit last year, so that should be no problem. Maybe there's 1 year there's no dividend, and then the threat is that all the people with the BP stocks will sell it. Well, who gives a damn? That's not a problem. It's only a problem if you need credit from a bank. Your valuation of your company has gone down. How are you going to get credit? Or BP rating goes down. It just happened today. It is not too down from the top, it's too up from junk. I really don't get that. The only reason why that's important is because that you can't get credit for doing what you do. But the funny thing with oil companies is they don't need credit. They have oil. You can pay everything with oil. Oil is money. In Asia, I just read yesterday, oil is used often as money. Oil is money, so you don't need a bank. So that's a game, that's a ruse. So there's a whole theater going on, and Obama is now forced to puncture that. So he makes an escrow account. What the fuck does that mean? It means nothing. If there's no oil available to buy with your dollars that you have in your escrow account, you can do nothing. So I guess he has to learn about that too. But it's also fascinating that because there's already talk about the assets of BP after it goes bankrupt. Why? Because the stocks tumble. Well, that's meaningless because somebody owns them. So what the hell? Explain to me if you listen to this and you keep listening. I will not make it that long. Explain to me why, if I have a company and I sell you 100 stock for $100 per stock, then so I get your money and you get my stock of my company, and then you want to get rid of it and you sell it for $1. What the hell does that do to me? Nothing. It only does anything to me because of rating agencies, but that's irrelevant because I'm an oil company. I have to repeat. You see, I make oil. Oil makes everything. as far as we know these days. It's not a good thing, but it's a fact. It's not prohibited to use it, still. Might be someday in the future. Might be prohibited to burn anything. But today it's not, and I make the money. So what the hell do I care about my stock market? It's just a ruse, it's just an excuse. So then I go legally bankrupt, because my banks withdraw the credit to my company, so I cannot have my operations, which is nonsense, because these operations are, of course, for a large part a success, and for a small part they're not a success. Those 45 billion pounds that they made last year didn't come from the Gulf of Mexico, because they were just starting to drill there. So it come from somewhere else. So I'm making money in other places, plenty of money, to pay whatever I need to pay, because I make 45 billion pounds in profit. It's a complete lie, a complete ruse, and the good thing about it is, the escrow accounts is already a sign that something is going better in the White House, because here is a guy that apparently he wants to remain politically in charge. It's more important for him to be politically in charge than to be financially solvent or whatever, apparently. So he doesn't really care about the banks. He had the luxury of believing their lies, because there was nothing in the environment that completely disproved what he said, because things worked out, and like Geithner was playing basketball with Chinese, he wasn't being beat to death in the basketball court. Wasn't ripped apart. So there was a luxury of believing that nonsense. Now he is seeing that there's actually reasons to not believe it, and that is, if he wants to keep the country together, if he doesn't want the South to rise up to become like a complete wasteland, then he has to do something right. And I think that's a good thing. Wij zeggen een geluk bij een ongeluk, a lucky thing in an accident.